Welcome to Half a Point, the podcast that was mocked, that was slandered, and after the first quarter looked pretty justified. But at the end of the day, West Coast gets up, gets the outright win. We called it here at Half a Point. It was an insane way to cap off round two. But this week is our round three best picks episode. We'll each be giving our five best picks against the spread. To help me break it down, I am joined by my co-host Carlton, superfan. Cuss, mate, how feeling after that round?
Yeah, it was a bit of a rough round, but it was good to finish off that way, the way we did. We'll obviously get into it. But yeah, good to finish off the week with that.
That's right. If you're new to the channel, please leave a like on this video and subscribe. We're also active on TikTok, on X, on Instagram, on Spotify as well. You can find our podcasts. But yeah, please follow us on those platforms. And also a reminder to please gamble responsibly. All right, let's jump into round two here. Still with these buys, early season buys. So again, a limited slate this week as well. But I think yeah, next week there's only two buys, and then we have a full slate from then onwards. So we'll jump into round two. Hawthorn, Sydney. Hawthorn don't cover, but win by 17. So I guess this is why I say get the best of the number. It was at honestly it opened at a pick, and then it was at 15 for a long time, and then just when we submitted our picks, it was at 19. So I got the worst of the number, and it cost me for the competition. But I mean, yeah, there were plenty of 15 and a halves out there as well. So I'm hoping that everyone jumped on that. They should have blown the Sydney team out. Like you saw the scoring shots, the expected scores. It was, yeah, they should have won by more. But yeah, sometimes it just doesn't go your way. Adelaide Western Bulldogs got close in the end, but I feel like the Western Bulldogs should have blown them out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a lot of back and forth throughout the game. But yeah, I think just the way I feel like Bulldogs just looked dominant the whole time. Even when Adelaide, kicked three, four goals in a row, they just found a way to bite back. It did get a bit close there in the fourth, few minutes left, and then Bulldogs kicked two in a row. So I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say that's unlucky if you're on Adelaide. But yeah, I think it was just a really good line that we had there.
Yeah, I'm almost glad that Adelaide got the lead with time to spare. Like it could be one of those ones where you guys just like if they won at the end, it would have been wraps. But Bulldogs had a little bit of time to respond, and usually that's sort of how it goes. But yeah, Oscar Baker, the hero, who would have thought? Moving on to Richmond, Gold Coast. Yeah, Gold Coast as a big road favorite covers. Yeah, this Richmond team, I don't know. We put it on the agenda at the start of the year. Wooden spoon contender. I think they're co-favorites now with the Bombers, which is pretty funny. But yeah, again, as I said with this Richmond side, like they either get blown out the water or like they have these crazy outright wins. And so, yeah, you want to seek value either side. So yeah, if you want to go for a blowout, just go for those alt lines, and it'll serve you pretty well. Giants St Kilda, I told you it was a massive trap. This was a no-brainer. This is not a sweat at all, I'd say. Yeah, got close with the money line at the end. I felt like again another one where I feel like San Kiddo should have won by 20 plus points here, but yeah, Giants obviously the tsunami at the end, but yeah, wasn't enough time. Apparently, the 30 seconds was weird. I don't know if you're watching live, but that 30 seconds in the end of the second quarter, I think, when Max Hall kicked that goal, I was like, oh, okay, there's 30 seconds left. But then the siren goes, and I'm like, oh, okay, I must have been crazy. And then it turns out that it was, yeah, so that's kind of crazy, kind of pretty bad for the AFL anyway. They've had a pretty bad week, I'd say. But yeah, St Kilda in the points, classic Ross line as an underdog. You just want to jump on it every time. Fremantle Melbourne didn't go too well for you.
Yeah, I don't think Melbourne were ever really in it. They had a decent second quarter, but yeah, I just don't feel like they really showed up. Yeah, especially in that first and third quarter, really just really dug in and Fremantle got ahead way too easily, and I think pretty much doubled the line. So yeah, a bit unlucky there, but I guess that's what happens with a pretty bad team like Melbourne. And then yeah, next up we had Port Adelaide and Essendon. I was on Essendon here as well, so another one that didn't go my way.
So was I,
And
bro. So
it
was I.
yeah, it did not look good at all.
Yeah, that was a bad pick.
I yeah, I think the last quarter made Essendon look not as bad. This could have been really ugly. I genuinely thought he might get to like 80, 90 points. But yeah, somehow brought it back to about 60 odd. But yeah, bad pick on our end. And then yeah, this pick, my favorite pick. I think I messaged you. I know I had a rough week, but getting this one correct was probably my best thing of the week. Almost felt like I went 4-1 instead of 1-4 just from this. But yeah, I like rough first quarter, but like we say time and time again, when these two bad teams verse each other, you just got to pick the dog. And we were getting dragged through the mud on TikTok. Every comment, I don't think we had one comment that was backing us. But yeah, it was we were getting slaughtered. But I guess this is what happens when you just go with the trend. Yeah, how did you see that game?
Yeah, that's right, man. Like, I think it kind of made me feel better that everyone else was slandering us. It's like, okay, the public's on North Melbourne. I feel great about this pick. It made me feel like even better about the pick. Yeah, I mean, these guys thinking that North Melbourne laying 2 goals on the road is a good number is kind of outrageous. It's kind of funny, kind of embarrassing, I'd say. But look, it's fine. Like we're gonna post some TikToks and we're gonna get some wrong as well. So not the end of the world. But the encouraging sign was like that's such an those types of picks are so obvious for us. Those harder ones are the ones that we sort of want to get on the right side of. So yeah, again, we said last week, no brainer pick every day of the week. They were down by 30 and still won outright. Like, imagine they got off to like a decent start where they equalized. So yeah, again, no brainer pick. You could have just every day of the week. But if we move on to the next, we put it behind us. I'm kind of glad I posted that one of you because you had a stinker. 1-4 for you. Um, 3-7 now for the season. How you gonna turn it around?
Yeah, just good. I don't know. I just keep backing myself. Keep going with what the long-term winners. And hopefully we can turn the season around.
That's right, man. So I went 3-2 again. So 6-4 ATS for the season. 60% against the spread. We say pros go 56% against the spread. So beating the pros for now. But as I said, we just want to go 3-2 every week. I've gone 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. So if I'm nothing if not consistent, right? So again, this week we'll aim to go 3-2 or better, hopefully. So let's start off with Thursday night football, Geelong versus Adelaide at GMHBA. Last time we played round 5 last year during gather round. I don't know if you remember when opposite to that game as well, where Adelaide were laying 7.5, but Geelong ended up winning by 19. That was that Mitch Hinge game where he just had like 3 turnovers in the back half.
Oh my
This
God.
time around, Geelong are 25.5 point favorites. We're going this one.
I've got absolutely no confidence with this one. I just feel like when Adelaide play at GMHBA, they can tend to sort of get blown out a little bit. They've also lost quite a lot of experience in their lineup. I think teams were just announced, and they had quite a few outs. Um, just to be precise, they lost Rory Laird, Jordan Dawson, Taylor Walker, and Calamachi. So all four of them have come out of the team. So bit risky. And then Geelong as well, like they're coming off a bye. We've seen not always when you come off a bye, you're playing that great footy. So yeah, stay away from me. But if I did have to go with a team here, honestly, I'd probably go Geelong minus 25.5.
I hate it, but give me Geelong minus 25.5. Oh, this number's massive now. This opened at 10.5. It was the books hung such a bad line, and that was even after Adelaide played last week. It's such an awful line, but I woke up the next day, went up to 16, which I've sort of made it around 16 or 17 around that range that time. But then yeah, since those injury news has come out, ballooned up to 25. So again, similar to Hawthorn Sydney last week, I'm getting the worst of the number. Um, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I just think it's a really good spot for this Geelong side. Coming off the bye, as you said, and as I said, this Adelaide side, I feel like is just overrated. Um, I feel like everyone sort of saw them as minor premiers last year. I've been fading them to start this year. Yeah, just such a bad spot. Short week on the road. Yeah, coming up again. Geelong tend to be, I think, pretty good historically after a bye. Usually, well-coached teams are good after a bye. They got off to such a slow start against Fremantle. I'm not expecting that to happen again. If you want to be on Adelaide at this number, I'm not going to blame you because it's massive. But yeah, I'm just going to trust the numbers, trust the process, and go with Geelong here. But yeah, moving on to Collingwood versus GWS Friday night game at Marvel. Last time they played was in the opening round last year, where the Giants were catching 6.5, ended up blowing them out by 52. This time round, Collingwood are 13.5 point favorites. Give me the Giants plus 13.5, and give me the Giants to win outright here. This is a massive fade on this Collingwood side. I just think that we're not that good. We got a pretty lucky win, I guess, opening round against St Kilda. And then we lost to this Adelaide side, who I don't rate at home. And so yeah, this Giant side sort of backs against the wall after a couple of disappointing losses. This is sort of when you want to back the Giants, not when they're catching points on the road. I think they play Marvel pretty well, except for the Western Bulldogs. I think they play Marvel relatively well. Yeah, Collingwood at Marvel is a little bit weird. Yeah, I just think the market hasn't caught up to how bad this Collingwood side is, and I think they're sort of underrating this Giant side a little bit too much for me. So yeah, give me the Giants plus the points and to win outright. What do you think?
Yeah, stay away from me. I sort of yeah, it was pretty hard to jump on. Part of me wants to fade Collingwood. Part of me is like, oh, who knows what Collingwood do really. Even Giants, like with their performance last week, they just didn't want to show up, and then turned it on in the last, in the second half really. So yeah, I don't know. It was just a bit hard to sort of trust this line. Not that there's many lines this week to really back properly, but. Yeah, a bit of a stay away, but if I did have to pick a team, yeah, probably GWS plus 13.5. Not sure about the
Yeah,
win, but we'll see how it goes.
yeah, no Buckley as well. We got concussed right at the end of that Saints game, which I'd say is a big deal. But there's no like which forward in Collingwood scares you. Like there's no really
Yeah.
threatening forwards in there. So yeah, I don't expect it to be as much of a blow as people perceive. Anyway, moving on to St Kilda versus Brisbane Saturday afternoon game at Marvel. Last time I played St Kilda were 14.5 point dogs. Ended up getting blown out by 45. This time around, St Kilda are 13.5 point dogs. We're going with this one.
Just going back to the basics with this one. So I'm backing the Saints here at plus 13.5. They're playing at home. They're obviously the underdog against a team that's really struggling to find their feet this year. And yeah, I think I faded St Kilda last time they were dogs at home. And we saw how that happened. So just yeah, stick to what we know. And yeah, hopefully it just works out for me. But yeah, that yeah, St Kilda plus 13.5. What about you?
Exact same. Give me St Kilda plus 13.5, and give me St Kilda to win outright here. We said last week, Ross Lyon as an underdog. That's exactly when you go want to go with him. Um, this is more of a fade on this Brisbane side though. Like I feel like the public's still on this Brisbane side, expecting them to bounce back. If you look at people's power ratings, they're still in like the top five, six. I said from the start of the year, I faded this Brisbane side the first two times they've played. This time around, they're laying points on the road. This is a line from last year. This is not reflective of this current Brisbane side. I know they're getting a couple players back, but I don't know. I feel like even with the rhetoric with Chris Fagan, he's just saying, it's all good. Like we'll find our feet, and fair enough. Like for the back end of the season, we can jump on this Brisbane side, but not right now. Also, the off season stuff with Ross Lyon and Chris Fagan, a little bit of beef. And Ross Lyon after getting blown out by this St Kilda side the last 2 years, he's not got sorry by this Brisbane side the last 2 years at Marvel. He's not going to be he's going to have a plan in place to counter that. So the last two seasons at St Kilda versus Brisbane at Marvel, it's been St Kilda plus 10.5, then St Kilda plus 14.5. I've been on St Kilda both times and they've been blown out both times. And so if they get blown out again here, I don't care. Like if it's St Kilda plus 13.5 at Marvel next year versus Brisbane, I'm gonna be on St Kilda again. Spoiler alert. Like it's just yeah, I'm just gonna play this every day of the week. One of them is gonna come off. But yeah, I think this one's a little bit different where this feels like it means something. The St Kilda team not as bad as what people perceive. So yeah, give me St Kilda and the points. Moving on to Fremantle versus Richmond, Saturday afternoon game at Optus. Last time they played Richmond were 35.5 point dogs. Ended up getting blown out by 61. I think that was in Gather Round last year. This time around, Fremantle are 47.5 point favorites. Stay away from me. I wasn't sure about this one. Like I had Richmond in my five, but then I don't know. It felt like if they went to Optus and got blown out, it wasn't going to be the most shocking thing here. It's a really big number though to be laying with this Fremantle side, but we've seen them get off to these crazy hot starts. So if you want Fremantle first half or something, then that's fair enough. But yeah, I don't really have a proper read on this game. Might be some weather as well. But yeah, stay away from me. What do you think?
Yeah, so based off a few things, I think there is a bit of rough weather there. And also we saw against Geelong how Freo ran out of legs, and then last week they did play a pretty consistent game, but like I said, Melbourne did find a way to score a few more goals in that last quarter. And yeah, I just think this Richmond team, they're not looking great, but you can see the hunger. They have little flashes of it. So give me Richmond plus 47 and a half. Yeah, hopefully terrible weather and just keeps it low scoring. That's pretty much what I'm relying on here.
Yeah, that's fair. If it's like a low scoring slog, then yeah, you'll be well in it with a massive spread there. Moving on to Essendon versus North Melbourne, Saturday night game, Saturday prime time at Marvel. Last time they played, Essendon were 16.5 point favorites. Ended up winning by three. This time around, Essendon are 14.5 point dogs. What are you going?
Sort of the same as last week with North Melbourne and West Coast. We've got two bad teams playing. I'm gonna back the the dog in this case. So Essendon plus 14 and a half. I think, yeah, it's just as simple as what it was last week. Just gonna go back to the book with this one. Pretty like I wouldn't say it's an easy pick, but given the options that we've got, definitely gonna squeeze that into my five. What about you?
Completely disagree. I do think it's an easy pick. Give me Essendon plus 14.5 here. Yeah, as you said, man, two bad teams go with the dog. But also, if this Essendon side has been absolutely slaughtered in the media this week,
Yeah.
that's exactly when you want to jump on here. We saw North Melbourne last week laying points. North Melbourne is a favourite. They don't deserve to be favourites, at least by more than two goals. So, yeah, I know this is at Marvel, so if they pile on, fair enough. But yeah, this Essendon side, look, they got blown out by Hawthorn and sure, and then they went on the road and got blown out. Yes, the effort should have been better, but not like they're great spots in any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I don't feel like a lot of bad teams are going to go to Port Adelaide and like beat them. And then yeah, not a lot of teams are going to beat Hawthorn either. So yep, they got blown out. Yep, their effort was pretty bad against Port Adelaide, but yeah, since they've been getting slaughtered. Also, another thing is player only meetings in round three is crazy. But you feel like you're going to get an inspired effort from this Essendon side. I don't know. I just think they like this number is just way too big. 14.5. Do they win outright? I don't know. I'll play a little bit of money line, but yeah, North Melbourne should be winning this game if they're going to be somewhat of a serious team. But yeah, you can't expect them to win by margin by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, give me Essendon and the points. Again, no brainer pick. Moving on to Port Adelaide versus West Coast Sunday afternoon game at the Adelaide Oval. Last time I played, Port Adelaide were 37.5 point favorites, ended up winning by 26. This time around, Port Adelaide are 28.5 point favorites. Stay away from me. No real read on this one. I know Port Adelaide blew out Essendon last week, but I don't know if that's saying more about Essendon than it is about Port Adelaide. This West Coast side, is it a letdown spot after a massive win at home? Potentially, you see with these young teams after a massive win, they could just fall off a cliff the next week. So, yeah, this Port Adelaide side, a couple of blowouts in a row doesn't seem like it's like I don't want to pay to see that. So, yeah, I'm going to stay away from it. What do you think?
Yeah, pretty similar to your thought process. I do think last week's game more of a reflection on Essendon and their effort as opposed to Port Adelaide and how good they are. I don't think they should have been in any position to win by 60 odd points. Yeah, and I think West Coast definitely can take out a lot of confidence out of last week. The way they did play. And the way they got themselves back into the game because they could have easily called it after the first quarter because we've seen that so many times. But yeah, completely understand with like the letdown spot after winning last week. But yeah, give me West Coast plus 28 and a half. Yeah, I think it'll, you know, Port Adelaide definitely can win this game, but I'm thinking maybe by like 15 points at most. But who knows, could get proven wrong quite easily.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, you never know with this West Coast side. I think they were pretty okay as road dogs last year. I think like the one I mentioned with this matchup last year, they did end up covering that game. So, yeah, can they do it again? I think it's on the board. So, yeah, fair pick, I think. Moving on to Carlton versus Melbourne, a Sunday afternoon game at the MCG. Last time they played, Carlton were 10.5 point dogs, ended up winning by 8. This time around, Carlton are 2.5 point dogs. Where are you going with this one?
Ah, mate, two bad teams, man. A matchup between two bad teams, take the underdog. Yeah. No, I'm going with Carlton plus 2.5. I know that's so risky, just given the way Carlton play. But look, I think definitely on paper, Carlton are the better team. Um, but yeah, I just think they need to get a few things together, and they can definitely blow out this Melbourne team. Um, and yeah, like you said, we saw last week as Melbourne, they didn't really look like they showed up. Could that be a could that mean that they bounce back this week? Um, never know. Carlton coming off a bye as well, plenty of rest. So we'll see how they go. But yeah, I'm back in Carlton here, plus 2.5. See how it goes. You?
I know I said I'll never pick him again, but give me Carlton plus 2.5. I can't help myself, bro. Yeah, I think you said with this game last year, like when these two teams play, I think 7 out of the last 9 have been decided by like less than a goal or something. But yeah, when these two play, it's always going to be a close game. So if it's going to be a close game, I'm just going to take the points. I know 2.5 doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's one of those close games, you always want to be on the side where you're catching points. Um, yeah, I think with this Melbourne side, I just don't think they deserve to be favourites just yet. Like, I feel like this is a little bit of a public dog, and that's fair enough. But I don't know. This Melbourne side, they were pretty disappointing last week, and yep, they beat up on the St Kilda side. But again, that was at the MCG. This seems like a more of a neutral venue, I guess, versus Carlton side. I don't know, Carlton. I feel like they're gonna need to get lucky to win this, but I feel like they will get lucky if that makes sense. Like I feel like the tide's sort of turning on this Carlton side. We saw last week, sorry, 2 weeks ago when they beat Richmond, they did end up as in they did win that game, which I think is like a meaningful thing. Like I think I said in the preseason shows about Gold Coast about them just beating Brisbane in the regular season or them just winning a final. I think that means more. So I think yeah, Carlton, even though they were outplayed, they won the game, which I think it's big for the locker room. Um, yeah, as I said, I anticipated this to be a close game, but if I see a blowout happening, I think it is Carlton blowing out this Melbourne side. From I think what when you want to think about with your picks for like round 3 onwards is essentially, I think the process is to ignore the first 2 rounds, like ignore the data in the first 2 rounds, and just go with what you thought in the preseason, and that generally tends to serve you well in like specifically like around 3 and 4. And so yeah, going into the season, I thought Carlton would be potentially a top 10 team. In that might be embarrassing to admit. And Melbourne, I thought were going to be a bottom dweller. And so, yeah, I'm gonna go with Carlton and the points. So, yeah, it's pretty scary. I don't like hate this Carlton side, man. Like, how many times am I gonna get burned? How many times am I gonna learn? Look, they're gonna be up by 30, and then it's gonna be a 2 point game in the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
but they'll end up getting up, I reckon. So that wraps up our picks for round 3. Run us through your 5, Cuss.
So I've got St Kilda plus 13.5, Richmond plus 47.5, Essendon plus 14.5, West Coast plus 28.5, and Carlton plus 2.5. So 5 dogs. I didn't realize.
5 dogs to you. I've gone. We say every week we're going to get 4 dogs and one favorite. I've finally gone with it. So give me Geelong minus 25.5, GWS plus 13.5, and to win outright. St Kilda plus 13.5 and to win outright. Essendon plus 14.5 and Carlton plus 2.5 as well. And I will be tipping the Blues in that one. All right, so that's our picks. We'll move on to Survivor. Again, you were knocked out in round 1, but you said you'd pick Hawthorn last week. Who would you go with for Survivor for this week?
I'd probably jump on Geelong here. Um, yeah, I feel like decent matchup. They should be pretty decent at GMHBA. And they usually win against the Adelaide side over there. So
Yeah, that's fair. Geelong was a consideration, but I think I'm going to go with Fremantle here. I've been fading. I faded Richmond every time, and it's been working out pretty well. So, yeah, going to go back to fading this Richmond side. Surely they don't beat Fremantle at Optus, right? We'll see. They got pretty close as 44-point dogs last year versus the Giants. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not going to be the most shocking thing in the world, but especially if it's a low scoring game. But yeah, I'm going to go with Fremantle. We'll see how that tracks out. All right. That wraps up our video for this week. Closing thoughts before we wrap up here, Cos.
Go the Blues. Have a good week of footy, please.
Yeah, for this week, go the Blues. As a reminder, please leave a like on this video and subscribe. And until next week,